the legendary Anouska Hempel. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. This is very, very big honor for us. So before we start with the presentation, let me just give you a very short bio of Anouska Hempel, Lady Weinberg. She's one of the world's most celebrated designers. Her London-based design and architectural practice is called Anouska Hempel Design. And she has designed critically acclaimed luxury restaurants, hotels, private residences, yachts, worked with many, many brands, including Louis Vuitton, Moncler, Van Cleef & Arpels. She's also a celebrated hotelier who's considered a pioneer of boutique hotels. Her first hotel was Blake's London, and then of course there's the legendary Hempel Hotel. And Anouska's current portfolio also has a 5-star hotel in Morocco, in Lisbon, private residences everywhere. And it's a great, great honor for us that you've come here. And I think what we'll do through this presentation is really go through some of the big projects that Anouska's worked on. We're starting with the Blake's Hotel, which is really the starting point for the boutique hotel, sort of style now. Tell us how the Blake's Hotel happened.
Well, Blake started because it was just a strange dream of mine that if you could look after people at home, you could look after people in a hotel environment. And the government were giving grants of about £1,300 if you took a flea bitten old dump somewhere in South Ken or Earls Court, which is where I started off from. And you just then took the money from the government, you took the money, the grant to the bank gave you the other little bit and you got on with it. And that's how I started, an entrepreneurial vision in one way, but also a way of getting my own ideas across about being that first thing in London. So you had the Savoy to stay at, or you had a bed and breakfast to stay at. You didn't have anywhere in the middle that was cozy and funny, that could look after all the bohemian people that I knew in those days, artists, writers, people who didn't want to be in an ordinary stream of where to stay in London. So it started from a big dream, little dream to a big dream.
So did the interior design and did being an interior designer and being a hotelier sort of happen in tandem?
Well, everything happened in tandem because I wasn't one thing or the other at the time. But as you go along in life, and the two things, if you are a designer, in anything, it's in your heart and it's in your mind, you can design anything. And I think I was designing a lifestyle. Lifestyle came with giving whatever I thought was right at the time for an interior. And if I liked an interior, I was just hoped to God that somebody out there might like what I liked. And they did. And they kept coming and kept coming. And we got bigger and bigger. We bought the mews around the back and we extended down the street. And I think they both went hand in hand at the time.
But the Hempel Hotel is very different from the Blake's Hotel.
Yeah, but Blake's is also very different inside itself. Some rooms are black, some rooms are this, some rooms are the other. Overdone maybe in this day and age, but still appreciated. And then I thought with the Hempel, I was given a commission by a Japanese company called Fujita, and I had to go through all the motions of learning how to be a Japanese woman in a forum, in a room. I had to be 17th on the left, and I wasn't allowed to speak until it was my turn, although I was the designer and I was in charge of management. And little by little by little, I just had the feeling, that wonderful Japanese clarity and that terrible strictness, that I shouldn't do another Blake's, I shouldn't do another thing that I've already done, I should do something entirely different. And that started the minimalist trend in London, I think. We were copied all over the world for a very long time. I didn't really realize quite what I was doing. If I'd known, I would have done the products and I would have done it all properly and got sorted out and made a big splash before it opened, but I didn't. I was too busy with a cement mixer.
Which is more you?
They're both me. If they're both done properly, I can go anywhere if something's done properly. It just doesn't matter. I love the freshness of the minimalist thing, and I also love the glory of the billions and the layers of, yards of lace and taffeta just as much, but it has to be done properly.
Blake's has a lot of aspects of, Indianness in it. It has a lot of various places in its rooms.
Oh, very much so. I mean, my travels here, I think in those early days, like 25 years ago, I was bringing home plates and bringing home, I've got a 4-poster bed that's made of balustrades from a palace in Jaipur. It's a beautiful wood, should be wood, but it's a stone four-poster bed, which nobody else has done. And I brought things back from your wonderful country, and I always have done for years and years.
When was your first trip here?
27 years ago, with the great, wonderful Mrs. Godrich, who dragged me around everywhere. Had the most fantastic time. Met everybody, and the most wonderful thing that happened to me on that particular trip was that I met Ismail Merchant. And he was my dream and my hero of all time. And that man was so good to me. He took me through the markets, he took me through to the factories, he took me through his dreams, he took me through where he lived as a child. It was quite remarkable, and I was very privileged.
Have you also done the settings and everything for the boat?
Everything. Everything except the engine. It's a Polish tractor engine.
You've also worked with food at the Blake's Hotel, haven't you?
Yeah, I do the menus, I do the recipes, I do the layout, I put the things together. I love doing that. And that's all to do with lifestyle, which I think today, if we could think of another word for lifestyle, it'd be quite important, because it is lifestyle. Design is lifestyle. It's to do how you dress, how you speak, what you eat, who you're with. It's to do with you and what you do with your life. And I'd like to have a go at the whole thing. So that's how the cuisine thing started. And because I was traveling so much, I just put it together and hope for the best. And again, if you've got a strong idea and you think that you like it, you hope to goodness that somebody else might. And again, we got started on that.
What's your process when working with clients? How much of the brief do you take? Do you take them on shopping trips, or?
Of course you take them on shopping trips. Very important to go on a shopping trip. But you have to listen to a private client very carefully, indeed any client. And I get so excited and passionate about something. They keep saying, Anouska, we don't like Russian furniture. They keep saying, well, now look, see that diamond over there that came out of Pushkin's, whatnot? Do you think we could incorporate it in the floor? Oh, well, that's different. That's not Russian furniture. So I have to be very careful. I lead my clients as best I can to give them the best I can, but I really do have to listen. If they don't want black, I have to really say, of course not. Then we just squeeze it in somewhere. By that time, they're happy with what they've got, and you become such good friends, because one makes great friends of one's clients, so that's how life is. And again, that becomes lifestyle for them and for me. It's rather good. It's a good life I have.
The topic they've given us today is differentiating in design, by which, it could mean a lot of things, but what I want to ask you in relation to that is, when you're working with so many different things, you're working in haute couture, you're working on hotels, restaurants, retail spaces, does the approach differ every single time, or can a great designer work with any material and any space?
I think a great designer can work with any material and any space. If you're given a plastic box and you have to get in it and you have to make something of it and you have to turn it around in your mind to make a fantasy of what it might be, it could be a jelly or a door or whatever you're thinking, you actually have to think all the time that you can do the same thing. Whether it's a grand auditorium, whether it's a castle, it's a little palace, or it's a tiny flat for somebody, I don't know, you just get in there and do it. But the rules are very much the same. It's the ergonomics of space and the juxtaposition of space in a small place or in a big one. And that's what I really enjoy, which means I'm architecturally based all the time.
What was the idea of the design here? Because it's so strong, and visually it's quite dramatic.
Well, this is to take a contemporary look into an old-fashioned brand. Henry Cotton's is not the most well-known brand in the world. Moncler have taken it over and trying to do something with it. And my brief was to make it magical, give it a sporty look. The little logo on the shirt is a fishing rod, which should have been a golf stick, but somebody had an argument about whatever. So they're selling funny old-fashioned stuff, and I wanted to streamline it. And in this place, we have a big boat on a table. Probably the table's about 3 meters wide, with an old, beautiful, nearly beluga boat sitting on it, and then all the clothes around the boat. And I think this was about 3 years ago now we did this. It's changed enormously since. But the man, why I got that commission was because the man who owns Moncler, Mr. Raffini, has a little goulette as well. And he met us in Saint-Tropez, and he came over and said, your boat is so beautiful. I would like it to swap. And I thought, oh, God, I always get chatted up by some idiot or another. And I thought, this is nonsense. And anyway, he had woolly hair, and he was big and gangly, and a very sweet little wife with him. I said, well, come on board and have a drink. And my husband said, not another pickup person. This is really getting a little bit difficult. Anyway, out of that, he did have a boat for sale. He did have a company. He did give me the commission. And thank God I gave him a drink on Beluga that night. You know, so life's got some wonderful little twists in it.
I know you're a perfectionist. Are there some people who come to you to work with you and you look at them and think, no way?
Is it that obvious? Yes, some people I can't work with, and it's best to say no right in the beginning, because you know you can't change something. If someone's spirit and someone's attitude and someone's demeanor is not absolutely going to be right, it's silly to get into a situation where you know you're going to have an argument. And I'd rather avoid them, because I have a lot anyway. So no is the best word.
There are a lot of Asian influences in the work that you've done. What about Asian design appeals to you? What aspects of it?
Everything in Asia appeals to me, whichever way, wherever you stop off. Coming from Australia all those years ago, I think I was the first one to come and hitch all the way across to get to England.
With
and
10
everything
pounds,
£10, that's all I had when I arrived, yes. I'd spent everything on the glories of everything I could see. What I find about Asia as Asia, and of course I'm working in Asia now, I'm in Beirut and in Morocco, and that's still called a kind of an Asia thing. I think the wonderful thing about the magic of your countries, and I'm sorry to put them in a plural here, it's the magic that's created out of nothing. It's the veiling, it's the unveiling, it's the screens, it's the light, it's the sublight, it's the strangeness, and it's also that wonderful, wonderful thing that you seem to have, which is living at night. Now, I think India, of all the places I've been to, has encouraged that for me. You can live at night from 11 o'clock on to 4 in the morning. It's the most wonderful time, and it's enjoyable, it's workable. You still work and live at the same time, and I think that that depth of the night is something that very, very, very exotic countries deal with it beautifully. I mean, we have dinner at 7:30, everyone's in bed at 11, and that's the end of that, and it's all rather stuffy and proper and And then all the clubs came after that with all the kids. Fine, they just drink and dance and don't get the other bit of the night because they're all in the basement listening to the music. And I just like the night. I don't know. That's how it all happened. And it's the screening, it's the diffusion of a very, very poor culture and a very, very rich one, and everything working together somehow. And I just appreciate it enormously.
What sort of things have you taken back from India on your trips?
Oh, everything. Durries, bedposts, columns, sugar bowls, teapots, everything you can think of, mosquito nets, mosquito whackers, everything has come from here and always has done. I love being here. And my next great client is Indian, you'll be pleased to hear. He's a young man called Satinder Garcha, and he's the young son of Colonel Garcha, if anybody knows him. Anyway, I'm on to do this beautiful hotel in Chile, in Santiago for them, which I'm thrilled about, and a house in Singapore. So I'm always attracted to one or two of you, or groups of you, all the time. It just seems to happen.
Are there spaces in India that you particularly liked?
Oh, gosh, yes. Udaipur, Jaipur.
Other than the Taj Mahal. Don't say that.
No, I'm not going to say that. Certainly not. That's Princess Diana's thing. Yeah. No, I don't know where I love the most. I just love this place. I can get lost in it at any stage, up there or down there. It's wonderful.
Tell us about the projects that you're working on. You mentioned the Chilean project, but what else are you working on?
Just a few things that I've taken from India in my mind and in my heart over the years. Is the wonderful mirrored ceilings that I saw. I guess it must have been Jaipur all those years ago. And all those mirrors put into plaster and polished lovingly, and all scrappy and sort of chipped and broken and quite magical. I've taken that on my travels into Beirut, where I'm doing the Grand Theatre at the moment. Unfortunately, we've stopped because of the war in Syria. We've got 4 months before we resume work. And I've taken the glass that you have in the wonderful ceilings, and I've done friezes all around the columns and the top and the cornices, and it looks very, very beautiful. It's totally Indian. And again, with Baccarat, I'm working for Baccarat. As you know, the great big glass house has been bought by a very famous man in America called, what's he called? Very famous. He owns Starwood Capital, if anyone's heard of that. And he's bought Baccarat, and the first Baccarat hotel that they're doing is in Morocco. Now, Morocco have wonderful glass productions. They do glass this and glass the other. And everything that I'm doing for Baccarat has been nicked from India and taken to Morocco for Baccarat. So you're very famous, you lot, for all these wonderful glass things, and especially Eglamise, that beautiful old glass thing. And everything to do with that twinkly life of yours, in a way, is coming back all around the world. I'm sure you notice it yourselves.
Do you do private projects anymore then?
Yes, they're the best.
Really? Working with private clients?
Yeah, I like a little aeroplane and a broomstick and a thing to take me around the world.
Anouska's home in England is in the latest edition of Architectural Digest in the US. And
Oh, and I love gardens. It's the same old control freak in me. You've got to take it outside, take it inside, take it outside. So it's in and out as well. So
you're always
laying
redecorating.
things out. Yeah. Yes, of course I am. Redecorate my husband every half a year. Is it? Poor old thing.
so these are the gardens of
Yeah.
of the home. How old is the space?
Well, this old house is 1550. It was owned by King Henry VIII and was a deer park and with deer shooters, whatever it was. It was just a little tiny turret, and it's been got out over the years and added onto. Quite famous as a house in the old books. It used to be called Cowfold, and it's in the Doomsday Book. It's an ancient old thing. And we've fiddled around and made it happy and warm and cozy. It's not my work really, unless I was working in another English house. I wouldn't do exactly that for around the world, because it's not what people want anymore.
How long did you work on it?
Oh, on and off, a couple of years, 4 or 5 years. And then over the years, found something else, bought another portrait, held a bit of money, and
What do you think is the best way to approach design when you're designing spaces? Should it take, especially when individuals are doing it themselves, is it best to work on it over time, or should the whole thing be done before you move it?
well, it depends on your taste. If you're doing something that's is minimalistically orientated, takes no time at all. You just bring one thing and one thing, stand a doodah, and you're done. Except, you know, it's okay, so you have a choice. Simple as that. And if you want to do the other, it's going to take time.
Your designs are almost theatrical. I mean, they're almost like sets. Do you find, you mentioned earlier that some people may find it old-fashioned these days, but there's also a lot of, you know, it's powerful.
I call it old-fashioned because I've done so many different things that I call it old-fashioned. But I'm trying very, very hard in England to restore the real respect for the wonderful artists that we have. People don't take trompe-l'oeil seriously anymore. People aren't doing the things that we can do. Your country can work with your hands to the point of you can do anything at all and produce anything. In England as well, we have the most wonderfully talented artisans and artists. They don't get enough work. They're not bought out. They're not taken out and go and do something wonderful. So whenever I can, I will encourage all those glorious artistic friends of mine and people I know to come and do a little bit, to enhance whatever I'm doing. I think it's very important. It's my passion to keep my team alive. It's my passion to work hard every day, and it's to keep everything dovetailed together.
Do you work with a big team, and what's the process?
We've got about 40 architects. We've got 5 stars, a few not so good, and hundreds of people around the world doing things everywhere.
So the approach to a design project, what's that process like?
I don't
Do you
get that.
sit together and consider proposals? Do you hand it
we
down?
sit together and consider what we're going to do on a commercial level, but I'm very, very strong and very dictatorial. We're going to do it like this. Now, if anyone's got a better idea, we can do it your way, but if we don't have a better idea, we're doing it my way. So, somehow in between, everybody gets a little bit of something.
You've diversified now also into furniture.
See all those? They're all your Indian things. There's about 150 of those hanging up in a tent in the countryside somewhere. And they're beautiful when you can put 20 to 50 together, not just one. And that's when you need to get bigger and larger and noisier and more theatrical.
You've also, I was just saying, you've also introduced furniture, a line of furniture. Is that available commercially, or is it only for the projects?
It'll be available commercially in about 2 months' time. I'm having trouble getting that whole thing on the website organised and doing my other things. So any minute now. Again, Javanese screens, Japanese screens, Indian screens, all the things I was talking about that came from the East and influenced me, I'll be making in about 3 months. They are made and they're being sold, but not on the old website yet.
Great. Now, I know that lots of people have questions. Does the audience want to?
They may not.
Does anyone have any questions for Anouska?
How do you confront these two grand ideas that are in vogue and still, promote the crafts as professionals? This is a question that we keep battling with every day.
Well, it's up to you and how you feel about what is arts and crafts and the things I was talking about before with all the artists I know. And we're not just talking about a gold line, we're not just talking about a round a door, we're not just talking about trompe-l'oeil. If you take that whole thing into minimalism as well, the man who does the tadlak, as in Morocco, the tadlak with the plaster stuff, for him to, as an artisan, to get that shadow gap absolutely spot on, without a hair or a wrinkle or a rubble or anything else in it, is also part of looking after people to give them the best, even if you're not doing the rococo and over the top. You have to lead people to do the best they possibly can. And if you're going down that route, do it properly. That's all I can say about minimalism. And when you do, it stands the test of time. So that's something, it's again to do with even the man with the plaster, even the man with the cement mixer, the man with the broom, whatever we're all doing, just do it properly.
It's that simple.
The other question I have is a little bit of idea on Satyender's house. He happens to be a friend of mine from Polo.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Garcha used to be my equitation officer a long time back.
Well, that's a hotel.
Yes.
So I just wanted to know what kind of project is he working on in Chile?
Oh, most beautiful hotel. He's bought 2 little twin towers. He bought City Hotel, and we're turning it. It's the one, this is his. I've got the horses, I've got the polar sticks, I've got everything you can think out to make it all leathery and wonderful, as if, gacha, and all that stuff is going on. We're having fun with those kinds of words.
Wow.
His wife has a better sense of humour than he has, though. He doesn't get. Oh, how pretty. Anyway, this hotel will be absolutely wonderful. There's nowhere in Santiago that you can stay and have fun in, and any kind of romantic anything. It's just a great big Four Seasons and something, and a W around the corner, and nothing else. So this little place is to give Satinder, and this is what I'm talking about with a client. Take the client's resume, take the client's brief, do the best you can, and because he's a polo player, and because his life is totally revolving around that, and these little business things he gets up to, I decided to take it that little bit further. So we've registered something called the Saddle Room, which I hope will turn into be an extraordinary club that will go worldwide. And we're having an awful lot of fun, and it's something that I'm very happy to do because I'm on my way to Brazil. It's a little bit further than Brazil, but we're working in Brazil in Morapuro. So it's all going quite well, and it's good fun.
Have you ever walked out of a project because it did not meet your standard of perfection?
No, but God, I've felt like it. I'm quite professional. I mightn't look like it or sound like it, but I really am. And I won't let go. I'll stick at it till I jolly well get it done.
What was the most challenging project in this
What?
regard? Which project was the most challenging in this regard?
Grosvenor House. Grosvenor House Apartments was the most challenging. We had two Arab backers, and an Irishman, and me, and Woods Bagot in the middle, and it was rather awkward and difficult. Huge project in the middle of London. It's right next door to the Grosvenor House Hotel, and that was tough, because it was tough in its procurement policy, it was tough in its environment, it was hard hats, and it was very hard to get magic into that place. And I was in my own country, my own hometown, and I would say that was the hardest. But we stuck at it. Having lunch next week to talk about something else. Oh, and I haven't told you, I'm doing Pera Palace. Do you know the Pera Palace in Istanbul? First we had Agatha Christie, now we've got Anouska Hempel.
You just spoke about like Chile, and you spoke about the ham and the cigars and bringing in a bit of the local culture. And I just wanted to know that what about material? That, you know, you also spoke about bringing things from India and taking them to Morocco. And so how much is like the local material important in the spaces that you do?
Very, very important, because you can't do it without the local people. I can import things from here to show people how to do things. And this is it. Copy this, have a look at that. This was used here, have a try at that. And every little country's got their own speciality. And glass is not Chile's speciality, obviously, but there's not a lot of glass. There's just a lot of leather and, you know, other things going on there. So it depends on where you are and what you can use your local talent to be able to do for you, and you work that out early on. And everybody tells you the glass factories are lousy, or the tiles can't be made here, but you can buy sandblasted something or another. And so you just have to listen in the beginning and work it out.
You have a word for the youth of India, the youth who are sensitive to design.
I would say to the youth of India that not everything goes anymore. I think a little bit of control and a little bit of decorum and a little bit of proper esteem for the heritage that young India has, I don't think would go amiss. And the talent is here, but everyone's gone a little bit wild, and I think the whole of the world has, actually. I don't think it's just India. And I just think you have to take something, believe in it, but follow it through. Don't just do it at random. At random doesn't work in the end. At random becomes randomly wrong. That's it. I'm going home now.
Thank you very much.